This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and all energy work. From the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all images, all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than host, as I too am traveling, learning, and supporting others on this journey as well. And with that said, I am your guide, Tracy C. Wright, and this is Ready, Set, Reiki. Hello, Reiki family. Reiki blessings to one and all. It is another Ready, Set, Reiki journey together. I am so grateful you as listeners are tuning in as I, navigate through this landscape of Reiki. So before we begin our journey and I introduce my beautiful, wonderful, amazing guest here, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Reiki Business Collective. Now, this is by Christian Standing Stone. This is a Facebook group book. So there's no fee. There's nothing. I'm not getting any incentive by doing this. I have just found that this is a place where you can come, you can share what you're doing, and you can be in a supportive group of individuals. It ranges from the curious beginner to that master teacher and even a PhD scholar. So just a wonderful variety of individuals supporting, and that is connection with building a Reiki business community. Now, with that said, you don't have to have a Reiki business. Maybe you're level 1, maybe you're level 2, maybe you're just curious, but it's a great place to start on your journey. Or even if you're towards the middle of your journey, come back and you can learn new things. So let's begin our journey today. I'd like to introduce someone, wonderful energy. His name is Archit. Now, he is a multimodality healer with a foundation in Reiki. I love this sentence, multiple modality healer with a foundation in Reiki. Now, he integrates Bach flower remedies to support physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Now, he has over 5 years of experience that he has helped clients worldwide find lasting relief from pain, stress, and chronic conditions. And his approach combines compassion, guidance with practical tools, creating space for deep healing and balance. So let's bring a Ready, Set, Reiki. Welcome, Archit, to Ready, Set, Reiki.
Thank you so much.
All right, beautiful friends. So let's begin our journey together. I told our listeners just a little bit about you, but I know there is so much more. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I am Archit Shivastov and I'm currently in Mumbai, India. And I was born and brought up in the country of Dubai for the first 6 years of my life. And since 2006, we've been here in India.
Beautiful. So we're here about Reiki. So tell us, when did Reiki come into your life? Did you find Reiki or did it find you?
Reiki found me. It's a very interesting story. It's very interesting because my mom learned Reiki for the first time in our family. And I think I just came back from school one day. I was 16 years old. And I just happened to see a Reiki manual lying on the table. And I just happened to look at that for a few seconds and I was immediately drawn to this. And I asked her out of curiosity, what is this supposed to be? And she told me it's a form of energy healing. And I said, can anyone learn? Or is it something that only people who are of a certain age and experience? And she said, anyone can learn. And I think I forgot about it for a few days. And I went back to regular school life. I was studying for my engineering at the time. And one such day I had a bit of a headache. And so I just came to my mom when I was back home and I told her, can you just practice your Reiki to help me be relieved of this headache? Because I was just curious. I didn't know if it would work. And I was in a very scientific background studying there. So there wasn't skepticism, but it was very intriguing to me, this concept. And it felt like home. So I just lay in her lap. And I still remember she placed her hands on my head and I felt this tingling. And I think I almost fell asleep and the headache was gone. And it was such a fascinating experience. I told her, I need to learn this. Please tell me who taught you. And we were very fortunate because the master who taught her, who had an experience of more than 20 years, was just a few floors above us in the same residence. So it's it's interesting because my dad was equally interested. So he took the Reiki class with me, the first and the second level that we took with this master. And so three of us in the family are actually Reiki practitioners.
Goodness, I love that. What a beautiful story. And to have that support of your family, right? I mean, in the United States, a lot of men are kind of like, I'm not going to do that. And even my husband, he doesn't even pronounce it correctly. He says, are you going to do that Reiki Raki stuff that you do? Right. So what a blessing that you had your mother and your dad, and they were open to sharing this with you. And how wonderful, just a few floors up, you had that Reiki master at your convenience. Beautiful. I love that for you.
Yeah.
So with having your family as masters, 3 in your household here, you've been, connecting, and I'm sure, this has been a part of your life even longer. What are some of the misconceptions that you hear from people about Reiki or energy work?
I think the first thing that I face even today, so many years later, is it's not something that's visible to people. And not everyone feels energy immediately, right? Not everyone is sensitive to energy. So there's a lot of skepticism around the science and the scientific proof behind it. That's something I face a lot. How do you know it works? Because I don't feel anything, I don't see anything. There's a lot of skepticism. And I used to feel very resistant to that earlier because it was difficult for me to hear that from people, because I absolutely love Reiki to bits and I call it my lifeline actually. And to hear that people feel that about this beautiful energy, it is a little off-putting. But I've realized that everyone is on their own journey. And when I have such questions coming to me today, I tell them that there is a lot of research going on. Reiki is used in hospitals, it's used in schools, and it's doing wonders. Just come over and give it a try, and you'll see how your life changes.
Beautiful. Now you have an approach that combines compassion and guidance with practical tools, and you create space for people for deep healing and balance. So as you're out there helping and supporting others, you talked about how your mom laid her hand on you as you had that headache. As you look back at your life, do you have any challenges or struggles that you might have faced on your healing journey?
I believe my healing journey started long before Reiki. I can tell you even today, when I was as young as 4 or 5, I had these certain abilities that opened up and I didn't quite know them. I was very young and I could immediately answer questions. When someone asked me something, I just knew the answer to that without knowing how I knew. And there was another fascinating experience, which I now know today is something known as clairvoyance, where I could see through my mom's eyes as she had gone outdoors, and I could see that. And I think it was so fascinating. It's not something that grew over time, because as we got into school and science and mathematics, those areas of my life got quietened down and they were sort of suppressed. And it wasn't until I turned 16 when I came across Reiki that this beautiful journey began.
Beautiful, beautiful. So when it's time for you to get that energetic tune-up, what qualities do you look for in a Reiki practitioner or Reiki master teacher? What for you are some positive qualities that say, I want to connect with this person?
I think for me, one of the main things is being respectful of someone's free will and their space, not promising something, this is what I can do. And I am someone who, beyond the energy work, if someone gives me that space where I can be myself, where I can express without judgment, that is something I absolutely look for in a Reiki practitioner, because I know all of us with Reiki have our own experience, and having that space makes the healing all the more powerful.
Beautiful. I love that. So 5 years you've been doing these multimodalities. So what advice would you give someone who's just entering spiritual work?
This is a very important question. I think it's one of my favorite questions. I believe that we are very fortunate when we have our spiritual awakening, when we are on this journey, because it can get very uncomfortable at times. It can get very confusing. And I don't think there's a particular age when it begins. It can just come out and start at any time. And I remember when I started out in this field, I was curious about my gifts and my energy work. And I looked for every possible book and every possible teacher. How do I open this? Why is it not working for me? Because I saw my friends and some other people in the community who were doing so well with their gifts, and it was flourishing for them. And for me, I didn't find any of that opening up fast enough. And so the first lesson I learned was divine timing, that we cannot force these things on the journey. The second thing I would say is enjoying the journey and the process, because there is no destination here. It's different for all of us, and it's perfect for us at this point of time in our life. And the most important one is that I've learned and embraced very strongly is following my own intuition in my body. Now, I would absolutely recommend having a coach, a guide, or a teacher that resonates with us. But I do feel like some things are there which our body and our mind and spirit guides us to do. For example, if there's something I can tell you here, it's a very simple example of a psychic ability called clairvoyance, right? Clear seeing. Now, I had a book and a teacher saying that clairvoyance has to do with the third eye. And then someone else said it has to do with the solar plexus chakra as well. And the third person said it has to do with the pineal gland. And so I was finding myself feeling more confused, because I thought which of the teachers, which of the knowledge is actually correct. And I realized that none of it actually resonated, because a person said clairvoyance or energy is how you see it when you close your eyes and you see a film or you see images. And it was never like that for me. I see things with my open eyes, with my eyes open. And I learned that this is something that is hard, but it's something that we embrace, that our own gifts and our own talents in the field of energy, whether it's our intuitive gifts, they open at a pace that is natural for us, and our gifts are as unique as us. So even though another person has a certain experience, our gifts are completely unique to us. And the more we embrace and allow them, the more they shine beautifully.
Beautiful. Well, wonderful advice. Thank you for sharing that. Because oftentimes people tend to look what others are doing and then bringing that on themselves. So trust in that divine timing, and it's your own unique journey. So thank you. So you mentioned about books that you kind of read along your way. So what are the books that you recommend?
There are a lot of books, I think, by Reiki Master Franz T, and I hope I'm getting the pronunciation correct here. And currently, I am reading about body and mind-based healing books. So there's a book known as The Body Keeps the Score. It's quite well known. And there's another one. It's not as famous. It's called The Secret Language of the Body. Now, I mentioned multimodality in my bio, and I think this is really intuitively and beautifully led, because when I started my journey with Reiki, everything else, whether it was a certain guide, it was a certain course, it was a certain modality, I believe that Reiki led me to all of that. It was never something I actively sought. It's something that just fell into my path.
Right.
So that's something I absolutely love.
Right. And I loved how you worded it in a foundation of Reiki, because it may be just a place, like you think of a ladder. That's the first step on the ladder. It can take you somewhere else where maybe your true authentic nature is, whether that is, light language or tarot card reading or whatever that opens things up to start with that foundation. So I love that you mentioned that. So our next one here. What services do you offer? Do you offer classes, events, trainings?
So this is actually an exciting question. I don't offer classes as of now. It's something that's in the pipeline. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my bio, but I recently ventured into batch flower remedies. I have started with sound healing. And something very interesting I wanted to share is graphology, which I don't think a lot of people know. It's handwriting and signature analysis. So the way we write and looking at the sheet of paper, we can tell a lot about the person, about where they've been, about their personality, things like how good someone is at planning and execution, how high someone sets their goals. If someone is hydrated enough, there's a lot that you can tell from that. So these are some things I do. And like I said, multimodality to me is about customizing it to each person. I don't go by an approach that this is what I do for everyone. I feel like everyone comes at a certain point in their journey, and I make sure that I'm using it's like different pieces of a puzzle coming together. So that's how I use these different modalities. I help people with their signature and their handwriting because we can see things that are in the subconscious coming through in our handwriting. And the opposite is also true. If we were to change our handwriting, we would see that change in our outer world. This is something that I feel is very beneficial, especially for children in school, because writing is something that people teach you, but how to write, what alphabet can make a positive difference, the way you write it, it makes a huge difference.
Right. I love that. Well, when I was younger, we had like a mall, and at the mall, there was someone there that you could write your signature and it would analyze your handwriting. And from that time when I was little, I read my little report and then I began writing my T's like super big, like T. And I just kept practicing my handwriting, as if I was like going to grow up and like sign autographs or something. So, but I just was so focused on that after that experience. So it's interesting that you said that. And even like, one time analyzing, well, the line and the T doesn't match up. So then I started making sure that that line and that T connected and all went into the straight cursive kind of thing. And then when I got married, obviously my last name changed. So I was making a big S, right? And everything was big in the signature. So I love that you said that. So where can we find you? Are you online, in person? If someone wants to book a session with you or connect with you, where can we find you?
My website is currently in progress, but I have a fairly active Facebook profile page and my Instagram. It's @towards radiance. And I work with animals as well. I think I forgot mentioning this earlier, but seniors have my heart. I absolutely love working with senior pets. I think they are a special category in their golden years because pets bring so much joy to our life. And they're at this stage, it's not easy for them to walk. They're in pain. There are mobility issues. And I have worked with a number of dogs and cats who are in their golden years. And they've had such profound experiences being able to walk and run around for some time, playing and having that burst of energy again. And reading those reviews from people was very heartwarming for me.
Beautiful. I can always tell who has great energy before the podcast begins because I have 6 Cavalier King Charles. And right before we connected, they all started to come in, and 5 of them are in here completely asleep. They're so close. 2 of them are so close. I actually made a little video before we started. It's like, look at my assistants. They're all out cold. One is a senior, and he comes in. And so he's so close right here. So they can always let me know who has really wonderful, compassionate, gentle energy. So I just wanted to give you that confirmation that you got their paws up here, approval.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful to know.
So beautiful. All right. Well, that ends the first part of our journey. I'm going to guide you into the second part, which are questions from Reiki students and from listeners. So number 1, can you explain how you integrate the Bach flower remedy to help support your clients' overall well-being?
I want to share this as a case study, as an example, because it's very fascinating. I this is some time back, I worked with a child who has eczema. Now, eczema is a skin condition. It's not curable medically. There is no known cure for that. And when I went into the area of Bach flower remedies or Bach flower remedies, there's pronunciation both ways. They work on the mental and emotional state of a person. So we have 38 different remedies. Each corresponds to a specific emotion. There's something known as willow, which corresponds to anger and resentment. There's something known as holly that has to do with a feeling of jealousy. So we have different emotions in the spectrum for us as humans. And when I had this case study with me, I started with Reiki, of course, because that's my foundation. And we saw that the skin was improving, and then it sort of came to a standstill. Things weren't shifting further. And now I came to Bach flower remedies, where I thought that this works on the mental and emotional parts of us as humans. There's no such mention of it working for physical conditions and illnesses. And then my intuition told me that the mind and body are connected. So if there's a particular emotion, if there's a particular mental state that's causing a condition, I should be able to tap into that indirectly with the use of Bach flower remedies. And so what's fascinating is that this child had absorbed trauma and other energy from her family. So it wasn't really her own. But we have a specific remedy that targets trauma and the energy of past, anything that's weighing down on us. And the moment we started this, 80% of her skin patches just disappeared. It was absolutely fascinating to see this. And there's this very special remedy known as rescue remedy. It's something very well known in the bachelor field. And even if you don't have experience, this is something I want to share. If you are someone who suffers from panic attacks and chronic anxiety, this is something that helps tremendously. Just putting that and sipping it with water, it just calms your entire nervous system down. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. It's so interesting. And I like that you're open to using these different modalities based on, the client that you're working with. So you have these tools in your energetic toolbox to use for their highest good. So I love that. Number 2, 5 years of working with energy and being this multi-modality healer. Is there one modality that you're trained in that you could only use for the rest of your life? What would that be?
But it's no surprise it would be Reiki. I made a fun post on my social media sometime back, and I said, what is the favorite subscription? What is the favorite thing you've ever subscribed to? And my answer to that was Reiki, because I have a lifetime of subscription to Reiki. I'm attuned for life to this beautiful energy. And this is my foundation. This is where it all began for me. My spiritual journey, even though it started as a child, it reopened that gate only when I was attuned to Reiki. It Reiki is my lifeline. It's something that sometimes we forget because it becomes second nature. We might not show gratitude, but through my schooling years, through my college years, I went through a lot of stress. I would be sick almost all the time. I was having phases of depression, and through all of those hardships, Reiki was my lifeline. It was always by my side. Just by placing my hands over my body, over wherever I felt, wherever I was in the world, it didn't matter. It was this, and it still is this companion that's there with me throughout. And I've had so many fascinating experiences, gone beyond just healing. There's an incident in our home where we had a mouse that entered the room, and we shut the door to keep it within that room. I sent Reiki to ensure that nothing was damaged and the mouse was also safe. And this mouse disappeared from the room. We still don't know what happened. There was no way for it to escape. I've had cases where my laptop suddenly stopped working. I just channeled Reiki and it started working again. There's a very recent case in our country where a lot of flights got cancelled. Around 2,000 flights were getting cancelled. And my sister was to fly, and I just prayed and I sent Reiki and I said, please, I just want this to happen for her. She's been looking forward to this. Among all of the flights, hers was the only one that went through. So I have absolutely witnessed so many miracles, and this is one modality that for me is lifetime. If that was the foundation, this is what it would be for me.
Beautiful. And that's what's important. You've weaved it into a lifestyle and use it in your everyday life. And many people, when they, explore Reiki, they're like, it's not working because they're selectively choosing when to use it instead of daily. It's like when you exercise that muscle. So if you're on the journey, it has to be a part of your everyday life. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Number 3, you state that Reiki is a foundation for you. What has surprised you bringing Reiki into your life?
I believe that it has brought me directly and indirectly a lot of amazing experiences, like I shared with my spiritual journey. Even in school and college, we all know that we can easily fall into negative influences, or get into company that's not that great. I've always attracted friends and social people that are good for me, that have been nourishing, not just in my education but even otherwise, as good people. I've been protected from negative energies. I've never had any such experience. It's something I've always been shielded by that, and it's like a very protective force around me. So that's something I absolutely feel is a very big privilege to have.
Beautiful. Well, that was our last question. As we've been talking, is there something that you may have forgotten to share or something you want to tell us? The floor is yours.
I have been very recently working in the somatic field of healing. It's something that I was led to again by Reiki because of my own struggles. I am an introvert and an empath. I find that the more I get into my spiritual journey, I get drained quite easily in big crowds, and it's not always easy to find my people. And so, what I want to share is that I've been working on things like the nervous system and just looking at things at a very holistic level through Reiki, through batch travel remedies, through the handwriting analysis, through sound healing, and everything that I do. And I just wanted to share that I find that people naturally open up to me. Complete strangers naturally open up to me. And I found that that has been the biggest gift. Being able to hold space, I think, is especially in the age of AI, where we have AI taking over jobs, it's coming over social media. I think this connection and this human touch that we have is not something that would ever be replaced by artificial intelligence.
Beautiful. And let our listeners know one more time how they can connect with you.
So they can connect with me on my Facebook profile and my Instagram page. I'm also on WhatsApp. I can share those details with you and you can share that across.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Archit, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to take this Ready, Set, Reiki journey with me.
Thank you so much, Tracy. This was absolutely amazing.
Wonderful. So my beautiful listeners, if you would like your question featured on Ready, Set, Reiki, reach out, www.readysetreiki.com, or check me out on social media, and perhaps your question can be featured on the podcast. I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.